right?
Okay, Mr. Chair, it is 11 o'clock. Would you like to go ahead and start the meeting, or do you want to wait a couple minutes? Okay.
No, we're good. So I see Dale, Rich, Donna, Cindy, Everett, Drew, Craig. So Paul wasn't going to be able to get on. And then Ray, he thought he would try, um, but he was having a hard time connecting just on the phone. So, did I say Cindy? Yeah, Cindy's on there too. I think I got everybody. Out of the gate, I apologize. My audio isn't very good according to the bosses over there at FWP, so I'll try to keep that in mind. I've got a goofy head cold, so hopefully I'll keep us on track. And if you need to redirect me, please feel free to do so. So today we're going to re-review the Hunter Landowner Stewardship video course, and that's the one purpose of today's meeting. So we're going to have some time with ComEd. I know Sarah Malloy is on here. I don't know for sure if Greg was getting on, Greg Lemon, but we'll go through that in process. And a number of you have already sent your comments, so I appreciate that. I have not yet forwarded them on to FWP, but I will do so at the conclusion of this meeting. I do have some comments from those that aren't going to be here, and I know Paul gave Donna his proxy. So I thought what we do real quickly and briefly, since we have one new council member, would be just to go through introductions real quickly for Craig's benefit. So let's start. I'm not going to do me because Craig and I have known each other for many years. So let's start with Drew.
There you go. Hey, everyone. Hey, Craig.
Hey, Drew.
We've actually met before, I believe, when I lived next to your daughter in Great Falls.
Great. Awesome.
Small world. Small
Yeah.
Montana world stuff.
Yeah.
I currently live in Billings, Montana. I'm a landowner in Region 7, but a resident here in Billings. Public land, private land, hunter, all the other things. I work in the outdoor industry as well.
Okay, thanks, Drew. How about Everett?
Hey, Craig, good to see you on here. Think you're going to be valuable. So happy to see you again. We're neighbors, so known each other for a long time, but glad to have you on here, Craig.
Thank you. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Cindy, Miss Colan.
Hey, Craig. I live in Butte. I've been on the PLPW for quite some time, and I'm a retired Air Force colonel. Glad you're on the committee.
Nice to serve with you.
And Cindy is on the sports person side, so if you remember to do that, your connection on the council, who you represent, besides everybody else. How about Donna?
Donna, you're muted.
There we go. Welcome aboard, Craig.
Thank you.
I am a landowner in Southwest Montana. We live near Alder, Montana, but if you know where Alder, Montana is. And I'm on the council as a landowner, and also I'm an outfitter by trade and not a computer genius by any means. So I'm often reminded to turn my mute off. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mr. Roth.
Good morning, everybody. Craig, Rich Roth. My family owns the IX Ranch in Big Sandy, Montana, representing landowners, Region 6 FWP. Very, very much involved in all aspects of natural resource management. We do outfit the ranch and so have that, but we also have a huge block of state land right in the center of the ranch that people have access to via county roads. But again, welcome aboard and look forward to visiting with you more.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Rich.
Mr. Tribby.
Good morning, Craig and everyone. Dale Tribby. I'm from Miles City. Been on PLPW now for a couple of terms, and before that, I was on 2 iterations of the Upland Game Bird Council for a long time, and I'm a retired biologist with BLM, and again, I think I said it, but I represent the sportsman industry here.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you, Dale. Ms. Prater.
Hi, Craig. I'm Stephanie Prater. I live in Lewistown currently. I grew up in Helena, though. I represent the sportsman side. I currently serve as the vice president of the Montana Bowhunters Association, and I also served on the FWP Citizens Elk Management Group a few years back. So welcome and look forward to working with you. I think I'm the newest. Well, now you're the newest, but I'm the second newest.
Thank you.
Okay, so Craig, that's it for who's on the council that's on this call right now.
Okay.
And I would like to say that having worked with these folks, all of them for at least a year or more, I really appreciate the fact that they do represent one constituency as required by state law on this council, but they very well change hats from landowner to hunter to outfitter, looking at the broad picture. And I think you've joined a great group of people that diligently work towards this effort. So
Yeah.
officially welcome aboard.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ed, and thank everyone for their introductions. I appreciate it and look forward to learning from you and working with you.
Okay. Glad to have you, Craig. Probably we should go through on FWP staff. If we could start with Jason, just quickly, Jason, and then whoever, let's see, excuse me, Sarah.
Yeah, we've got quite a few. I can run through those for you.
Direct them through, Jason.
Yep, I can do that.
Great.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for your willingness to jump on short notice and jump on and be invigorated into these issues. Good to see a lot of you again. I am Jason Cool here out of Helena, work with our regional access staff to get the hunter access programs and one fishing access program on the ground in the field. We do have a few of the access managers, so we'll start there and then we'll jump into ComEd staff, and then we'll let you guys take it from there, probably. That's all right, Mr. Chair. So since you guys are on, let's go with Katie Iverson at Region 6 first.
Hi, I'm Katie Iverson. I am the access manager out of Region 6 in Glasgow. I don't know if you want to know a little bit about me or not. I'm from Culbertson originally, so I've been up in the northeastern corner my entire life.
Thanks, Katie. Trenton.
Hello, everyone. I'm Trenton Heisel. We have probably met previously in my role as the Region 5 Access Manager, and now I'm over here in Region 2 as the Regional Access Manager. So I've been with the department since about 2017, and in this role with Region 2 since August.
Thanks, Trent. Travis.
Good morning, I'm Travis Mache, Access Manager in Region 7 in Miles City. I've been with the department 19 years now.
Excellent. Thanks, Travis. So what you guys were just introduced to is a few of our access managers. We have 7 of them. And so you were able to meet there briefly, Region 2, Region 6, and Region 7. We've also got a few in, well, one in every region. So I work with those folks to get the programs on the ground, and I am here to help serve as staff assistance to this committee as well. Switching over to other FWP staff, I'll let Sarah take it from here, and then she can introduce the couple ComEd staff that are on.
Thanks, Jason. Good morning. My name is Sarah Malloy. I'm based in Helena, and I work as the Education Bureau Chief for FWP, just kind of overseeing and supporting a variety of our education programs, including Hunter Education. And Greg Lemon, Division Administrator for ComEd, Communication and Education Division, will be joining us shortly. He apologizes he's stuck in the budget hearing for FWP, which got moved over or sort of extended to today from yesterday. So he should be joining us very shortly and looks forward to it. And also there's Francis and then Lauren on the call. So go ahead.
I'm Francis Righteous. I'm the Hunter Ed Coordinator over here in Helena. Craig Jordan, we've grown up together. Nice to see you again. Look forward to talking about the HLSP course today.
And hi, my name is Lauren Carnop. I'm the video content manager for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. So maybe my face looks a bit familiar. So the videos that you're reviewing is some of the work that I was editing. So obviously open to some feedback and yeah, excited about talking about the course.
Okay, so that looks like everybody, is that right, Jason?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's all of our staff.
Okay. As always, just want to shout out thanks to the regional managers for the work that you do that allows us to comment on the work that you do so well. I know you are the boots on the ground and the people that make it really happen. So we always want to extend our appreciation to you. You guys do a great job. So I'll be messing with you, Trenton, over in Region 2, because that's where I hang around a lot. So we'll see what happens over there. So to just quickly recap the need for this meeting. So the current status of our recommendation to the department, the director, and the legislators was that current bill is kind of on hold. Senator Logie has a placeholder in spot for that. And so his concern was, is this program ready to stand up to move forward with the bill? So as you recall, our bill was to propose the awarding, if you will, of 1 bonus point of 1 species for 1 time, not a lifetime. And sorry about that. Got too many phones sitting here. So upon the completion of the course. And so that's where we stand with the legislation at this point. It has not been completely drafted, and it certainly hasn't been introduced. And so he had asked that we check the status and see where we're going to go with it. Again, as a reminder, this is our bill that we've suggested to put forward, not the department's. It's not Senator Logie's. He would be carrying it. So we have to come back to that point, make that decision and move it forward. That's up to us. So my intention was that we would, I know I've asked all of you to review the video and make your notes, and thanks to you that we're able to put those in, and I know a number of you are going to bring them today, and then I'll go back to the department, obviously. So we'll do that here shortly. And just a reminder, you know, when we reviewed this, I believe it was back in August the first time, you know, we felt pretty positive as a group that had come along a ways as far as updating from the original 100 landowner stewardship program that was built over 20 years ago. So that's where we stand. The first feedback, we've given some critique. And I think now our concern is, does this video course provide question and guidance for resident and non-resident hunters in relation to hunting all lands, private, public, etc., and doing a good job of interacting in relationships and respecting the resources. So that's where we stand. So we're going to have a review to jump in with. I believe Sarah's going to lead that, if I'm not mistaken. Any questions about my comments at this point? Don't see anything there, Jason?
Nope, nobody's raised their hand or anything, so.
All right. And then we will take a working lunch break around 12:30, and then continue on. So I'm going to click off of the little microphone here and ask Sarah to jump on, and we'll get going.
Thank you. So I'll share my screen. Last time I recall the volume may not have been great for everyone, so we'll see how this works. If we need to go a different route, we can try to have someone else share it, but I'll give it a try here. All right, so this is the first video. Oops, move this over.
In Montana, hunting is more than a recreational pursuit. For generations, across cultures, around the globe, hunting has offered connection to land, family, community, and heritage.
Successful hunting requires knowledge, skill, preparation, ethics, and access. Though Montana boasts impressive public land access opportunities for hunting, 64% of the state is privately owned. Property owners, both urban and rural, enjoy the right to say who can access their land and how. Though FWP is dedicated to fostering public hunting on private lands through voluntary access programs, hunters share in the responsibility of maintaining that access.
The Hunter Landowner Stewardship Project aims to strengthen the relationship between hunters and landowners. In this course, you'll learn the importance of working lands, how to access private lands, the best practices while you're there, and key knowledge related to hunter safety, natural resources, personal responsibility, and the importance of developing your own hunting ethics.
The future of hunting relies on protecting the enduring relationship between landowners and hunters. Remember, it's all up to us. Respect the access, protect the hunt.
Okay, that's video one. And did we want to comment on them as we go? Sort of the intro.
So what would be most helpful on your end, Sarah?
I don't know. I defer to you all if we want to stop after each video and think about the content, or if we would like to just watch it all and then just maybe, since people have seen it all, we could just play them all and then talk about it. But whatever you like, happy with.
I guess my intent, if there's no objection to it, would be that we'd watch it through once, and then come back to it and go through our observations.
Great. So watch the whole course.
Whole thing through.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. I'll share the next video here.
The sound isn't playing on mine.
Since the 1940s, Montana
There you
FWP
go.
has offered hunter safety classes, focusing on firearm handling, fair chase practices, and hunting ethics, and more. Today, everyone born after January 1st, 1985 must take hunter education to purchase a hunting license in Montana. Hunter education offers foundational safety skills and knowledge that every hunter, novice and experienced, should know and practice.
Hunting safely is your responsibility, especially when you're hunting on private lands where unique scenarios and challenges can occur.
While you're out hunting, farmers and ranchers are often out working. It is wise to assume there are people out on the landscape, livestock in nearby fields, and even other hunters accessing the same areas. You should be aware of your surroundings and respectful of nearby people, pets, homes, outbuildings, farm machinery, and vehicles. Hunters should practice the 4 rules of firearm safety every time they go hunting. Rules 1 and 2 are simple, yet critically important. Always treat every firearm as though it's loaded, and always keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction, away from anything you don't intend to shoot. Most hunting incidents are preventable and occur because of careless firearm handling. The next rule is a logical extension. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. The last rule of firearm safety is less straightforward, but is especially important. Be aware of your target and beyond.
Imagine it's the final week of general hunting season, and you spot an elk on the crest of a hill. You're close enough to take a good shot, but should you? The answer is no. If you can't see what's behind your target, like that skylined elk, never take that shot.
Along with prioritizing safe firearm handling, you must consider the safe zone of fire. This changes with each step. The number of hunters, the lay of the land, and the land ownership. Avoid shooting towards or near people, pets, livestock, houses, buildings, and vehicles. Keeping track of your safe zone of fire is always essential, especially while you're on working lands.
Preparing for your hunt is nearly as important as your behavior out in the field. What lands are you accessing? Are they federal, state, or privately owned? If they're private, how do you plan to get permission? Did you know you needed permission?
64% of Montana is private land. Private property owners have expectations and rights, no matter if they own a home in town or a large livestock operation. Like you, rural landowners have a right to say who can and who cannot access their property. If you hunt on private property without permission, you are trespassing, and you can be cited under Montana law.
Since 1985, FWP has facilitated public hunting access on private land through the block management program.
Landowners voluntarily enroll and receive benefits for providing public access on their lands that Fish, Wildlife, and Parks will help manage. There are different types of block management areas. So be sure you know before you go which type of hunting and how to seek permission. It's helpful too to have an access backup plan in case of last-minute changes. Fish, Wildlife and Parks also facilitates private land access and access to isolated public lands through other programs like public access land agreements and the Upland Game Bird Enhancement Program, among others. You can find out more information about Fish and Wildlife Parks landowner programs on their website.
Tools like FWP's Hunt Planner can get you started, while mobile apps like Onyx and Avenza can provide more information while afield. Make sure to check the hunting regulation for the area where you plan to hunt, and know the landowner's specific rules. In addition to specifying who's allowed access, landowners can establish rules on the number of people allowed, the game hunters can harvest, how hunters can retrieve game, and more. Hunters are expected to know and follow all conditions for access on private lands. So you've got a plan, you have permission, and you signed into a block management area, and you head into the field. The day is crisp and clear. An hour later, you're tracking your quarry along a fence line. You spot a buck and take a safe, legal shot. Though you've hit it, it doesn't drop. Instead, the animal scrambles and bounds over the fence. You know from your map that the deer has just crossed onto a neighboring property where the landowner doesn't allow hunting. What do? Should you have taken the shot? Scenarios like this are common and underscore the importance of preparation and taking full responsibility of your actions.
Remember, hunting on private land is a privilege. Here are some key considerations to leave no trace.
One of the biggest problems private landowners face when allowing public access on their lands is dealing with trash afterwards. If you access those lands, make sure you carry all of the litter out. And if you have to go to the bathroom, be respectful of that landowner, bury it, hide it, don't leave it exposed by an open gate.
Another key consideration for hunting working lands is the impact of your vehicle. Is it raining and muddy? Do you know which fields to avoid because of crops or livestock? Was that gate open or closed?
You should always follow all landowner rules regarding which areas are accessible by vehicle or foot only. Leave gates as you find them, know how to identify and avoid driving through noxious weeds, and do not drive off-road. Park in tall grass, throw cigarettes on the ground, or start campfires when it's hot and dry. Weeds and wildland fire are critical concerns to landowners that can jeopardize their land, livestock, and livelihoods.
If you're hunting with dogs, make sure you keep them on a leash when you're visiting that landowner. And if you drive into his driveway, leave your dog in the vehicle. And by all means, if he does get out, don't let him around livestock.
Being safe and respectful, following Montana law and landowners' rules, learning about working lands, and keeping private landowners' rights in mind are important ways to ensure you're doing your part in helping landowners and other hunters alike.
In this course, you learned and reviewed the importance of firearm safety, key considerations for hunting on private land, and the critical importance of taking responsibility for your actions. All the topics we've covered can and should inform your personal hunting ethics, or the moral principles that help you distinguish between right and wrong. Was it right to shoot that skylined elk or that deer on a property boundary? These in-the-moment decisions are up to you, but the implications of your decisions are much farther reaching. Your actions impact not only your safety, but the safety, property, and livelihoods of those around you. Your actions impact the future of hunting for all hunters. Be prepared, be respectful, and make the right choice, even when no one's watching. Remember, it's up to us. Respect access, protect the hunt.
Thanks, Sarah. So I think there's two parts. So the videos clearly are one part, and then the questions on the follow through with each video. So I guess when you connect them all together, I just want to, well, not sure whether to start with Donna or Craig, just for review, and how best to get through this with all you guys so we can make this really meaningful. So I think I'd like to start with Ms. McDonald to just give your feedback. Again, we didn't look at the questions, excuse me, as they relate to these videos, but I think that's part of the question or part of what we're looking at too. So Donna, do you feel comfortable starting in there right now?
I may have more to add after I hear everybody else's comments, so I'd like to reserve that right. So no, I thought the new videos are a lot better. I did take the test again last night, and it only took it did take very long, 15, maybe 20 minutes. And a lot of the questions were fairly simple. I guess studying our target audience is maybe something we need to discuss, is who is our targeted audience. Yeah, I think anybody who has common sense hunting skills could pass the test without even watching the videos, I would hope. But the videos are helpful. I felt they were professional. The sounds matched the voices and the lips moving. And so, and there was, you know, you could see the upgrades in it. So kudos for that. But I still felt if someone's going to get a bonus point for it, depending on what kind of bonus point, I would like to see it be a little bit more difficult. But I thought it's a great baseline.
Sorry, I'm making a note. So, question, Donna. How would you define our target audience?
Well, I feel this is more for the adult hunter. The youth hunters will be taking a different course, which is a topic I'd like to eventually get into with our PLPW council. Not for today, but at another time. But we put a lot of resources and time into this, and at the time we decided to do it and where we're at today, I'm not sure the same goals align. I think that we may have expanded what we had thought, or broadened our thought process on our targeted audience of being adults, and making them think a little bit more. And maybe I'd like the idea of more scenarios, more, okay, this is what happens. The scenarios were great. So yeah.
Thank you, Donna. How about it, Craig? You want to take since you have an entirely new view of this in the last month or so, are you willing to take a shot at this right now? Mute. You're still on mute.
Craig.
You're on.
Yep, Craig, you're still on mute. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. If I can apologize ahead of time if I step on toes, because I know there's a lot of effort's gone into this and I have certainly not been a part of it, but I'll just, Ed, you want me just to flip through kind of the comments I came up with? And one of the things that I think, there's nothing in these videos to me that's beyond what we already teach in hunter education, you know, the basic class. Being an instructor, and I know many of you are as well, I think it's wanting something more, like Donna mentioned, a little more challenging for it maybe to qualify for a bonus point. And a couple things, I think more time spent on timing as far as asking permission, sort of a landowner calendar kind of thing for some of these working lands where people can appreciate more the busier times of the year, and get a greater understanding of just what these folks are going through and the impact that potentially hunters have on those in those times. So that would be one thing. Also talking about trying to get permission well ahead of before the season starts. I am in a situation where I help allow hunter access to a property that I work on, and becomes difficult when you get requests 1 week, 3 days before the season starts. We're already booked and all that kind of thing. So just some discussion about that. And also, there's really nothing about accessing public lands that may be within the private boundary, and a feeling that, hey, maybe the landowner's limitations or restrictions that he has or she has on the private lands also apply to bringing out anything off the public lands. And so those are things that I think are really important, that really aren't addressed there. Another one that's really important to me personally, and I think to everybody, is marksmanship, precision with the hunting equipment that you have. The impact of wounding loss that we know we experience through, and we have this documented with different research projects, that I think it needs to be talked about. And I think we need to encourage all hunters to step away from this idea of, hey, I buy a box of ammunition, and Ed, you didn't pay me to say this, that I use to sight my rifle in and then go hunt with that same box of ammo. I think precision and a knowledge of the ballistics of your firearm that you bring into the field is incredibly important, and something that we need to stress in this. Carcass removal. There's a lot of different ways that people handle carcasses in the field. The boneless method, as I get older, is something that I use, but I think there's complications with those kinds of things with landowners. Do I leave a boned out carcass in a hay meadow or a hay field that she's going to be running a tractor over the next season? So those are things that are worth talking about just with the landowner and clarifying those kind of things. I think the video is a little too block management centric. I think there's a lot of opportunities on private lands that are not enrolled in block management, and just going through how a hunter may actually, how do you ask permission? How do you develop a relationship with a landowner, not just for the season, but maybe over time? I know a lot of us hunters that have been in the field a long time actually have built friendships and relationships with landowners that have lasted, lifetimes. So, and just quickly in the video one, they seem to make a difference between private and working lands in that discussion. That's a little confusing as to what they mean there. Maybe just rewording that. In video two, it'd be great if they explain a little more about zone of fire, what that means exactly. And and then I agree with Donna, maybe some more scenario type things, maybe even moving away from the multiple choice test. Maybe it means we bring in or consider having someone that's a consultant in education to help kind of develop a test that's a little more challenging. But anyway, I'll stop there.
Thanks very much, Craig. I appreciate your look at this, and I think you probably hit on a number of things a number of us are going to bring. So I appreciate your look at it and everything else you've done. And yeah, very good. I appreciate it.
One last thing, I guess I know the game warden personally. I think maybe to help coach a little bit more, I think that's a weakness in the video. It's just not that he isn't a super great guy. It's just the talent. Like, it's sort of the presentation might need a little more work to just help it be more engaging.
All right, let's go to Rich, Mr. Roth.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Craig, I thought your comments were really good. I think as far as the format of how it goes, it's nice to have the video kind of explanation, kind of facts first, and then go to the test, test questions. I think that's a good way to kind of, bring it forward. I mean, when you're doing these, I know in my industry, the beef quality assurance test that we take every 3 years is quite a bit lengthier. I mean, I think it's a half an hour to 45 minutes to complete. It's very detailed and specific. And the one thing they have is that if you try to go through and skip the videos or don't listen to the whole video, you can't take the test. Like you can't be watching and doing that. It's all separate parts so that it somewhat forces the issue to kind of have you go through it. And then again, when mistakes are made and retaking the test, which sometimes people have to do, like I said, having that be a kind of a process. I think it was good to show, in there where the mistakes were made, things like that. I thought format wise, I thought that was good. That was part of it. I guess I know we're trying to get something out there, but in light of, what's been talked about, I think it is true that a lot of the gist of it is probably something that people could learn in Hunter Ed. So maybe focusing on some of these areas like Craig had mentioned, and even Donna, that are more specific, or I guess deeper in detail in terms of things that we're seeing as landowners out there. I like video 4 because it covers a lot of things. I think it's too much though, honestly, when you cover trash, weeds, bathroom gates, road conditions. I love all those topics because as a landowner, they're very important to me, but maybe there's a way to incorporate those into maybe some of the other videos, or maybe have some more sections that focus on that and ask some questions about it. And as it ties to that, if we can find some facts or some points to kind of explain why we're doing it too. I don't think people recognize sometimes what it's like to, I realize that, like, and I've said this before, hunters are just like everyone else. Like, they have their time that they have for their vacation or whatever, and they can't predict what the weather's going to do. But calling a month in advance and getting permission, then coming and finding that it rained 3 inches before they got there, and now the access roads are a mess and things like that. I get it. They don't really have a choice in that regard. And so it's a lot about explaining though why that is the way it is, how mud carries weed seeds and how mud makes ruts in very fragile, environments that last for tens of years. A lot of that breaks country. And you guys know this too, probably, Ed, those bentonite kind of tops of ridges and stuff where nothing grows. If you were to walk a horse across there or a cow across there, 3 years later, you still see the imprints of those foot tracks across there. So, imagine that with vehicles and that type of thing. So anyway, I'm kind of digressing there, but I to continue on, another thought, I thought Craig mentioned it too, and it's something I wanted to mention. I think it's great that the block management is in there and should be, but I think, on my place, I mean, I have about 30,000 acres of state land right in the center of the ranch that people are accessing right from a county road. And it's great because there's no block. They just go and they can park all along there. But I think some more talk about or incorporating those rules too, because not to offend anyone in the western part of Montana, but a lot of people that come hunting from that area think Forest Service and state lands are the exact same things. And regardless of a gate or a sign, a 2-track road is an invitation to just go there. They don't recognize or know that. So I think incorporating the difference between DNRC, BLM, Forest Service in some respects might be another thing that adds to the validity of this test over and above hunter safety and kind of those types of things with it. And then I think too, and maybe Everett, you'd think so too, maybe a part in there talking about technology and the use of our apps and things like Onyx, and hopefully as we get the FWP app up someday and things like that, encouraging the use of those things to know where you are, even though they're not always perfect, but using that technology to help improve your hunt, improve that relationship with the landowner by just being in the right place at the right time. Let's see, let me just make sure I've got all. Yeah, I think that covers it for me, but just to come back, the videos actually, I mean, are very professional looking. I think just maybe making them a little bit more focused on what we're attempting here to do in that regard. We've got all the people and the technology, I think, to do really great videos. And maybe just a few more. Again, you know, what you're getting for the value, again, maybe it just needs to be a longer, harder test in some respects. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks very much, Rich. Appreciate it. Okay. Ms. Gohan. Oh, and before I forget, make sure on the notes each of you have made, we're going to want to get those to the department. So encapsulate those in an email. You can send them to me and I'll forward them on.
Mr. Chair, if they did send the response to that original email, I did send them all on to Sarah. So if there's other ones, I know like Mr. Jordan didn't get his forwarded on, but anybody else that has responded in that kind of group email, I just forwarded those all to Sarah as well.
Okay, I have the same kinds of comments. I thought the videos were great. We do need more videos, and we might want to show, like on a BMA map, what a safety zone looks like. I'm not trying to educate people on how to read those things, but you know, if we want to keep them from making an error, it might be a good thing. I think the idea of distinguishing between the lands is a good thing, because you've got out-of-staters too that that may not understand the difference between a DNRC and a state land and FWP Forest Service land. Maybe comment on fair chase. You would think that everybody would know that, and etc. And we never did explain what to do if that deer does go over the fence. I mean, have we left it up to the people, or do we? I mean, so I'm not sure that we made it clear that you should call the landowner, climb the fence, or whatever on that. I like the notes that were on some of the videos, like on the fires. There was actually a note on the corner of it, and that might be a good reminder on some of those, especially as you distinguish the lands, to put on there. We don't discuss Tipmont either, which might be a good thing, you know, if you see somebody doing something wrong. I thought everybody's comments were really terrific, so that's it.
Thank you, Cindy. Rich, I see your hands up.
Thanks, guys. Just one quick comment to just follow along with what Craig had said too, that I thought was, as we look at the way to formulate questions, I thought his comments on, say, marksmanship and things like that, I just want to reiterate that I think those are good areas where, you know, people today kind of come out and brag. I mean, back in my day, and it's like a 250-yard shot or 300-yard shot was kind of like a long way. And now, you know, people are either able to, or they're kind of wanting to test their guns to shoot, you know, 1,200. And so the wounding of animals and just the proper thing, I think that's I thought that was a great comment that Craig had made there. The harvest method was really great. Just a comment to, I want to just reiterate, I think that was an area where you could put some facts to. And then I think a little bit too with not just the warden, the talent, so to speak, in terms of talking, but having some more of them speaking, kind of educate, you know, they're kind of the law enforcement. So having them in there, I think was good, or a good point to make there. And again, the kill, you know, the kill harvest rates, I don't know if FWP has that stuff, but again, pulling facts that FWP has collected over the years in some of these areas that are things that we can pull out of there that make a point, like what is the, you know, wound versus kill rate or something like that. So anyway, just a quick comment to reiterate what I thought some of Craig's good comments were. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich. Mr. Tribby.
Well, I've got several comments. The video is too short, and it's too short, or the videos are too short, especially with all the things that have been suggested to be included. I guess a question for Sarah or Lauren, and maybe they can answer a little later. How do you anticipate this video series going? Is it essentially going to be one and done, or are you looking at there's a video 1 year and 2 years down the road, there'll be an updated video? Because that may be one way to address all the topics that need to be expounded on or haven't been included yet. A few of the other things that I just want to mention, I'm also a hunter ed instructor, and that was one of the things that I observed right away. Most of what was in this video are things that we teach in Miles City as a hunter ed instructor. I also agree with Craig that there's not enough emphasis, or maybe there's too much emphasis on block management. I would like to see, as a former public land manager, I'd like to see more emphasis on treating public lands the same as private lands. I think the respect for land should be the respect for land regardless of who is ownership or who owns it. I also thought there needs to be something verbalized in here that there's a lot of private lands that are open to hunting that are not enrolled in block management, and the importance of whether you're hunting on private lands, public lands, block management lands, the rules apply regardless. A few of the other comments that I'd made earlier. One of the things that I hear from my landowner friends, in the fall, generally in October, a lot of my friends are rounding up their livestock and they're putting them into one pasture or whatever to get ready to ship. And the one thing I hear is that the bird hunters, and it's not even necessarily dog centric, but bird hunters, because that's typically more likely the time of the year, they'll come through those pastures. The livestock will be somewhat concentrated. They're not used to the shooting or the hunting. The livestock scatter off, and it costs them pounds. And you know, they break through the gate, it's a real hassle for it. And again, I won't say I hear that every year, but I hear it enough that I think it is an issue and it's something they could talk about. The video talks a little bit about staying on roads. I think it's one of the issues that's become more of an issue in the more recent years, is not necessarily the off-road driving. It's just driving on two-track trails when they're wet. Maybe the landowner doesn't want people on those, and I guess I'd like the video to address in your visits with the landowners. Maybe you ask them which trails are open. Are there trails you don't want us to drive on? One thing that wasn't covered at all, and it's fairly new, are the use of e-bikes. I had a landowner this spring tell me that some people came down the county road, and it was open range where the livestock could actually be on the road. He said those cows had never seen an e-bike before, and they really spooked and ran off. And again, maybe it's just something, if you're going to use e-bikes, you ask the landowner first if that's okay. The same could be said of side-by-sides and ATVs. I know a lot of parts of the state, they're kind of standard equipment, but I also know a lot of landowners in southeast Montana that tell people if they have a UTV or an ATV, you're welcome to hunt, but those stay on the trailer. I don't want you running around with them. One thing that they show a couple of pictures of, but they really don't address in the video, is hunting in unharvested crops. And when you get into early parts of bird season, normally the wheat is harvested by then, but there are some crops that are not harvested. And I think they could mention that, talk about that a little bit more. Just a couple of more things. And Craig talked about this. I'd like to see more emphasis on getting permission. Again, I think we've all heard from landowners that say they get a call at 10:30 at night wanting to know if someone can come hunt, and they've been in bed because they've been up since 4:30 in the morning doing something else, and just taking that topic a little bit further. And then two others. I'd like to see some emphasis in the video to talk about other users that are out on the land. I mean, whether it's block management, public land, you could have fishermen out there, you could have bird watchers, people just out hiking, and some type of a comment that talks about being respectful of those other people. Another thing that in southeast Montana, it may not be as big of an issue, but there's certainly those people that are out hunting and they see that porcupine or that coyote or that non-game animal, and oh gosh, let's shoot it. And not all landowners are okay with that. I can't say it's something that I hear frequently, but I've heard, yeah, I had this guy come through and he had 3 jackrabbits thrown up on top of his game card or whatever, and it was offensive to them, and just the idea that they're non-game animals, in some instances, not rabbits, obviously, or porcupines, but not all animals are predatory, and there's some landowners that would just rather, you weren't shooting at them, and especially in particular places, where they're out on the ranch. And again, just another thing that maybe some thought could be put into. That's enough. Thank you.
Whoops, sorry. Mr. Steinberger.
Thanks, Chair. Trying not to duplicate some comments, but that's obviously impossible. So, when I took this, I also had my daughter take the test just to kind of get a 13-year-old perspective versus a 42-year-old perspective. And while she was taking it, I was, writing my notes and thinking about why we're trying to incentivize folks to take this. And we're trying to help people be better hunters, both ethically and courteous, and a few other adjectives there, because as a council, we want those hunters to be better in the field so that access doesn't go away. We help get more access by having good humans in the field. And so it was really interesting when my daughter finished this test to kind of go over some of those questions and talk through them. It was a good refresher for a 13-year-old. It was not a good refresher for a 42-year-old sportsman. Without going into a lot of detail on the topic list, because we've hashed that out. I think the high level perspective that I have is that if we are going to give away a bonus point, which is really coveted, especially when we start talking about point creep and, you know, these once in a lifetime hunts that are no longer once in a lifetime, they're once in somebody's lifetime, but probably not yours. This is a really valuable thing that we're offering up to sportsmen. And I think that what you guys have created is good, but it's not worth the bonus point. And to get to that point, I think we need to look at how do we make these topics way more in depth, way more difficult, possibly maybe, I don't want to say controversial, but things that are on edge. And an example that would be corner crossing, right? Like that's the one that nobody wants to talk about, but maybe we should have a topic that goes into depth on topics like that with a lawyer, with an FWP game warden, with folks who are professionals in that space. Because those are questions that sportsmen have and they're not getting good answers, or they're getting bad information. And maybe we can be the avenue for them to get that good information. I think that's where my mind really goes towards this whole program, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to give away. I think we have to be way more in depth, way more difficult. And I don't know all the right answers on how to get there, but those are my high level general comments to you, Chair, and everybody else, you know, on the meeting today. I'm sure I'll come back and think of something else, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Drew. I believe that leaves Mr. Headley.
My turn, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think what I would start with is responding to Senator Logie and saying that this is probably something that we need to get through the legislature this year instead of waiting for a whole nother cycle to come through before we implement it. I think it's that important to what we have for hunter behavior and landowner relationships across the state. So I know it's imperfect, but one of the things that we have talked about is making this program modular and changing as it needs to. And so I think implementing it with what we've got now and what we plan to do between now and October, I think is just fine. So my encouragement would be for this to get put to the legislature and passed, hopefully. And then I would kind of go 10,000 foot level. I think either Don or Cindy kind of alluded to this, but our what we have is the HLSP current or previous iteration, and what we have now is kind of broadened. And so maybe a name change to it would be helpful. Hunter Landowner Stewardship Project is a little bit of a mouthful, and kind of what we're doing is moving a little bit beyond that with certainly the theme of it. So maybe a little PR help there to make it into something a little bit more palatable or attractive. I don't know, but it's something that a thought that I've had as we've moved through the different points of this. And then number one on the list that I submitted to you and to the rest of the department is, I think this is something that requires a yearly review. Maybe we do that at PLPW, maybe the department does it. And then whatever changes are recommended, that those are implemented within 30 days. And I don't know if that needs to be included statutorily or not, but in my mind, that ensures that this program continues to maintain relevancy, and it also puts some guidelines to the department about the program that we really want to be taken seriously within the committee, but also hunters across the state. So something big there. Moving to suggestions overall to the course, there were 4 sections that I really thought needed to be added to what we have here. Some of these have been mentioned already, but how to speak to a landowner, what to ask them, that's a really big one. Maintaining eye contact, good handshakes, things like that. You know, we've all talked about, you know, non-game species and predators. Do we shoot them? Do we not? Everybody's different on that. And, you know, things that really take into consideration their stewardship of the land. They may want help with, they may want us to know what a dandelion looks like and to look for it out in the field or whatever that species might be. Those kinds of things I think are really important. I think adding a section on policing our own is important as well. How do you do this? How do you do it safely? What information would a warden want? See something, say something is the catchphrase. I think those are important things too. I know there's organizations that give rewards for that. But I do think that this is an important part that we have great game wardens, but they can't be everywhere at all times. And so having that citizen information I think is really, really valuable. Somebody also mentioned Titmont, also great to include there. And then a section on Montana customs and traditions I think would be warranted. We talked about a lot over the past couple of years of the influx of new people to Montana. Maybe not knowing who we are, what we do, or how we do it. And I think that it's important to talk about that. I understand that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it is part of what we're trying to really get to with the HLSP. So those are sections I think should be included. Again, I've got some kind of, I don't know, just notes on the different videos and the different courses that are there. And then my final thought would be, when we started to look at this and I suggested we offer a bonus point, I was really modeling it off of how Arizona does their hunter education point. And that point is evergreen and it's across all species as far as I am aware, at least for the ones that I apply for, it's there. And so it carried quite a bit more weight than picking 1 point for one species. And as I understand it, once you draw, that point goes away. I don't know if you can take the program again and get it again. I don't know about that, but if it carried to carry the same weight as what it does and have the enticement of the Arizona program, it would be worth looking at that point being against all the I don't know, the moose, sheep, goat, or deer, elk, antelope. I don't know. Instead of just the 1 point, one species, one time. And I know that opens up a lot, but Arizona gets a lot of participation in their program. It's also far more rigorous than what this is. I think it took me well over an hour, maybe 2 hours to go through their program. And I teach hunter ed and I know a lot of things, but different state, different program, maybe that's what it was. But it definitely carried with it. You couldn't just sit there and click through stuff and then get a point. It required some investment on your part. So I would encourage the department to make this rigorous and ensure that there's I don't know the best way to say it, maybe a certain amount of fail rate to ensure that people are actually going through this and doing it well. I don't know if we needed to include essays or anything like that, but multiple choice at the end is pretty simple. So I would encourage some ways to look into how we could beef that up a little bit. And then, yeah, I've got a lot more thoughts in there that I've submitted to everybody, but that's kind of the overall gist.
Thank you, Everett. Okay, so I'd like to go through mine, and fortunately, you guys covered the vast majority of it. So one of the things, which is on the big picture of it too, is name. I agree, Everett. To me, it could just spin right off of it's up to us, respect the hunt, hunt well. Maybe it could be a hunt well program or something simple that already ties into your campaign about it's up to us, respect the hunt. But I do think the new name would be good, not a big deal. Critiques on the videos, me too, on the consistent enthusiasm from each presenter. And then it struck me that there isn't really a hunter in the videos. Maybe it doesn't matter. We have a great landowner representative there, presentation, and from the department, I think that's all key and important. But maybe somewhere in here we should just have a hunter as one of the presenters, maybe on one of the new pieces that we're proposing. A particular critique on video one, I think that the concept of the legacy of working lands and how important they are needs to be expanded on in that video. We talk about 64% of the lands being private a couple times in this presentation, and that's always been important to me that people understand that. But the importance of that is that for time, as long as we know that hunting has been regulated and used to manage game animals in this state, working lands have been so significant to providing the habitat necessary for wildlife. So I really think a great emphasis on that is one of the key contributions that this program must make. Just kind of reemphasize, it's been mentioned about, so the original Hunter Landowner Stewardship Program never mentioned block management once. That was one of our points when we reviewed it a couple of years ago. So it's definitely in there, and I agree with everybody that's commented. I think all lands need to be mentioned and clarified, and the intricacies of operating on those, whether it's access or what the rules are. As Rich stated, DNRC, BLM, block, PALA. PALA gets us to all that BLM land, and then you might have DNRC intertwined in it. So I think we need to do a little more to clarify and inform on that particular issue on all lands. And then it's been mentioned twice, self-policing. We've talked about that a lot. All of us on this council really wanted to recommend more boots on the ground, right? More boots on the ground. And we know that's a challenge. So clearly, whether it's through TIPMOT, and I understand the department is changing that a bit, or however we do it, a communication on it, it goes right in line. It's up to us to police what happens as hunters and how to do it. What are the intricacies of how to do that? What information do I need to get to a warden to discuss with the landowner, whatever the case may be, to help solve the problem, whatever it may be? Or what can I do on my own? In the video, it shows quite a bit, pick up your trash. Well, if you only pick up your trash, you're talking to an audience that probably doesn't throw any trash on the ground right now. So it's more like bring a bag, bring a box, pick up the trash. So I think some emphasis there in those segments would be helpful. And then, as was mentioned, being a proficient hunter, when you look at the type of hunting we all do, when we take a 1 week or 2 week vacation, go to a hunting camp, it's a certain type of hunt. When we go on a B-tag hunt or a damage hunt or a shoulder season hunt, all of these things, we need to be proficient, accurate, conscientious, ethical, fair chase hunters. So I think we're missing a key point in talking about being a proficient and efficient hunter. It really needs to be that way now. And then a minor note is respecting all the lands. Why would we only respect one type of land? If 64% is private, do we not respect the other 36? I mean, it's just, I think it needs to be clear that whenever you're on the ground, you respect the land, the landowner, the game, personal responsibility. And then last, how does this program help the taker of this program cooperate in this relationship? So as it's been mentioned, building relationships besides just signing on the block. I think there needs to be a segment that is about building those relationships. How do you do it? And how are you the one who cooperates with the cooperators and everybody else? So that's a real quick addition of my comments. And I appreciate everybody's work on that. So I don't know, it looks like, oh, did I miss you, Stephanie?
You did.
I am so sorry.
It's okay. Actually, really, I mean, I just agree with most of the other comments. I just kind of wanted to really point out and stress. I feel like video 4 is kind of the meat and potatoes of it, and it's super short. I feel like it could be broken out. It could have some more examples, really showing, what happens when you rut up roads and things like that. The deer video, I agree. There should be some discussion around, well, now what? How do I call that landowner? Or how to find contact information for game wardens in a situation where something like that happens. Tipmont should be somewhere in there. I also agree that all of these rules, especially like the stuff in 4, really needs to be stressed that it is also applicable to public land as well. I see a lot of bad apples on public land driving around, et cetera, et cetera. So, looking for noxious weeds, things like that. I did feel like it was really easy. I felt like I could answer the questions without watching the video. So you could pencil whip through it, I think, if you were a skilled hunter in any way. So I do think that it needs to have the requirement where you watch the video, then click next, and then have the test, and then also just more difficult content. I feel like it could just be a little bit more difficult, and that's about it. Oh, the other thing, ethical shots, I think that should also be stressed, especially not just rifle. I mean, they focus on rifle a lot, but folks taking really unethical archery shots has been kind of a uptick, and wounding animals. So that I would like to see some of that content in there. It seems like a lot of landowners complain like, oh, those archers come in and wound all these animals. So I mean, it would be a good thing to stress.
Thank you, Stephanie. I apologize for skipping over you. So in that round course, were there any other follow-up thoughts from those that just commented? If there is, just jump in there because I can't see everybody. Hearing none. So could we get a little feedback from the department at this point, maybe from Ms. Malloy, or I see Mr. Lemons on there. What do you think?
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay? Just want to check. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Sorry I'm late. I missed some of the feedback. Our budget hearing went a little long. So, it's there's a lot of things to think through. I heard one question in there about our plan to update it, and the idea behind the format now is that we can add and change pieces of this without adding or changing the whole thing. So I think that is our intent. We've already kind of talked through some based on the feedback we got, which some of it was the same last fall. We've already kind of thought through some items that we want to address within this format. I think one of the things I would point to is the learning objectives. So we are, I want to stay pretty tight with those learning objectives. And so I think the critiques are really valuable, but I also think, you know, if we're not, if you guys look at those learning objectives and we're not, those aren't the learning objectives that you think we should be focusing on, then that would be something we'd want to hear about as well. And so the other thing I think is, I feel like it's a balance of trying to make a program that meets those learning objectives, but for the committee feels like it's rigorous enough to be worth a bonus point. Ultimately our objective is those education objectives, not to give somebody a bonus point. That's that's an outcome that's to me kind of outside the test. And so we want to be successful in imparting to students what we want to impart to students. And then then that certainly gets into the conversation of who's the target. And I think I've heard some of that as well. And it's tough. It really is, because we're probably going to be hard to pull in. It's going to be hard to pull in those people who are really causing the problems. And those of us on the call today are not really the target audience for the test. And I think we all kind of know that, but that's, how we get to those people that seem to be the small number of people that seem to be causing most of the problems, I think is going to be a trick. So see, Everett's got his hand up. I can leave it at that for now.
Am I good to ask, Ed?
Yeah, go ahead, Everett.
What are those learning objectives?
I'm looking at Sarah now. Sarah, is that spreadsheet something we've shared with the group?
Yeah, we shared it originally with the video content and I sent it to Ed recently, but I'd be happy to, wonder if I haven't noticed if there's even a chat. I don't think there is, but we could like email that to folks right now.
Yeah.
And it's just, we had pulled out, we had taken the old course and pulled out the sort of key objectives and content from that and overlaid that with what aligned with learning objectives from Hunter Education in terms of like firearm safety and some of the overlap there. And that's sort of how we created this table of what this course addressed. And so it's a good way to like, in summary, look at what's in there. So I could certainly send that if.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing them on the actual program on the website. Yay.
No, they're not up there. It was kind of an organizational tool that allowed us to look at the standards and the content in that way.
Everett, yeah, it was a way for us to make a plan for this, so that we looked at what we wanted to accomplish and then started kind of mapping out how we were going to frame up the program to meet those objectives.
Rich?
Yeah, I may be stating the obvious a little bit, but I still kind of going along with what even Everett's saying on making sure we're kind of on the learning objectives, but still, I went to Jason and you I think that the certification of this is kind of a positive way to go, that, whether it helps now or maybe in the future. Like, I keep thinking of this whole, the app and with AI and everything, and being able to have like the people that take the course, like I said, for us beef producers, truckers have it too. It's called beef quality assurance. So every 3 years we're taking this. We have to take it to get recertified. And then that list goes out to all feedlots and packing plants and all that, so that they know who people have done. And I think that's the same a little bit that I see down the road that, hunters, it may not seem like out there, they wear a badge or have a card or anything, but certainly FWP and landowners, as we kind of promote taking these courses and doing that, it's a feather in our cap. But also when people it's data that's there, or a certificate that's there to know that, hey, hunter, or hey, rancher, every year we send out to ranchers, hey, these are the people, or I don't know, that's probably a huge list, but I'm just saying, like, the certificate of it and the validation of it that way is where I hope this is going.
Thanks, Rich. So, Sarah, is that the one that says course introduction, video 1, introduction, video 2?
No, I will, I'm just about to email this to you and Jason. I had sent it last week, and it's just a table of the course standards, which I might lean on Francis to describe in terms of education lingo, but standards and content for the course. So things that students will be able to know after they've taken the course, and then specific bullets on content. And it's a good outline of what's included in the videos that you all have seen in the questions. But I'll send them right now.
Thank you. And I
can address the standards talk a little bit too. Is that's what when I first came to this committee, it was a lot of when I was introduced was, what do we want students to know? What do we do when they know it? What do we do if they don't know it? And how are we going to do that? So when you start with standards to really start building a curriculum from that, with the context of all of those things. So that's what Sarah and I sat and did, and we looked at our Hunter Ed standards, which have been under review for the last year. And I'm actually on that SEER committee to really push that as a sitting and a licensed educator, and on several committees for really reevaluating standards for my tenure as a teacher. Is a good job for me to do. So as we looked at these standards, we looked at it's the tangibles. What do we want students to know? How do we want them to know it? So, and this one is it's kind of a difficult one because it's centered towards adults. And so you're really trying to push that in there, and how do we assess that knowledge? So I actually did write the assessment for the videos on this, and I wrote several different versions of assessments. But how do we, on the previous HLSP course, it was if you wrote 32 words, letters, or whatever, there was no grading of it. It was just, did you do that? And you moved on to the next course. So as far as a written assessment on this, we contemplated really hard on how do we do a written based assessment on this and not take up the time to hand grade, right? And leave objectivity and context into that. So it's quite difficult, but the standards most of these standards are hunting related from our IHEA national standards for reciprocity across all states. And this is a topic that's happening nationwide. We're not in a bubble. Everett's right. I'm in communication with the Arizona coordinator. I'm having a meeting with her on Friday to talk about their ethics course that they charge $300 for a non-resident to take, but it's also a preference point. So it does move you forward in there actually. So it's a different scenario. And I having experience with that course as well, it's a recommended 8-hour course, but like Everett said, you can finish it in an hour to an hour and a half. So it's what do we want? Do we want a hoop, or do we want an educational tool that involves and everything? Your guys' suggestions are all great, and I love them because they're really the focus of Hunter Ed is good for the 12-year-olds and students like that, but we really need to be focusing on adults because they're taking these people out. And so they're really influencing that. And I know Chair Ed, you heard me this weekend say that. So if we're really focusing on the adult, we can beef that up and do that. But how do we deliver? What's the delivery? So that's something to think about as far as moving forward into the future of this program. And this is these things already exist. The wheel's already rolling in every way for this. We just have to put it together. So.
Everett?
Yeah, another quick thought would be to Greg's point about we're not the problem, and how do you reach the problem? It would be including this the remedial hunter education program and making it a part of that too, or part two of it. I don't know, but just including this in that. And so we have that program that I don't know many people know about.
Yeah, and I believe the current program is in that remedial recourse. It has been in the past. I assume it is still now, but yeah, it gets to. I mean, we haven't reviewed the questions, so I don't know that. Me personally, I would defer to Francis on how questions are framed and how the educational piece is quantified in whatever we're trying to communicate. But more to Greg's point, the learning objectives are one thing, but I also see it, Greg, as a higher level communication piece than you can broadcast on a billboard or in a quick email or on the radio or however you're going to try to broadcast it, where you can have a more focused communication that is educational and then award that bonus point to incentivize it. Again, to rehash where we've been, I was one who was like, let's require this if you're going to hunt on private land. But the bigger picture is, can we incentivize it and just create a better, this goes between standard hunter education and all the discussion we've heard about master hunter over the last 8 years. And can we have an advanced program that communicates the things we've talked about today on a higher level than Hunter Ed does? When you get to at least discussing proficiency and being an effective hunter and discussing policing our ranks with some suggestions on how to do that. To me, those aren't necessarily test questions. It's communication. And yes, you can have a question to me, the questions are more important if they verify that you had to watch the video, to the point of those who, like one of our members, Mr. Rugg, communicated that he didn't watch the videos and he took the test, and he got 100%. And I think that's also goes to the point that we're trying to communicate to an audience that we see trespassing or throwing trash or whatever, not behaving well. And we're trying to encourage them to get on to doing something a little more than in the past. And secondly, in regards to Arizona's program, I think that's all great, and that's more like the Master Hunter program. You're talking paying $100 or $300 depending on the program you take down there, and yes, you get a lifetime preference point, which, just to discuss, and I'd share this, maybe you guys saw Paul Ellis's response, and he questions the value of a bonus point, and I understand his thinking, but I know that the public values a bonus point, even though it is not a preference point. Yeah, so I guess that's a lot for us to ponder, but we're at least waist deep in this thing, and I would hate to lose the opportunity to go forward, even if it is imperfect. That's been said about 3 times today by various speakers. So I'm gonna, unless somebody's got a burning thought that they don't want to lose, so they want to share right now, I'm gonna call a quick break here, and let's just do like 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and do our working lunch if you're gonna eat through it. If that'll work for everybody, and then we'll get right back on where we're at. Everybody good with that? All right, so it's 12:33, so 12:43 we'll be back live. All right, thank you.
Ed, you're not on mute if that matters.
Yeah, I was just gonna see if everybody's back on. That was a fast 10 minutes. I wasn't gonna ask you about that sailfish.
It was terrible to catch that. And be in the sunshine.
Yeah, I did that once. It's quite the thing.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. We've got a family friend who has a boat down there that's just amazing, and he's got just an excellent crew. So we had some pretty good luck despite it being the slower time of the year, I guess, for fishing down there.
Yep. Okay, I'm guessing if we have everybody back here. I didn't realize how quick 10 minutes is. Excuse me. So I'd ask if there's somebody that's not on, they raise their hand, but that wouldn't work, would it? Jason, are you back with us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I am here. Sorry for step away for a second.
No,
Working on
okay.
working on our budget presentation for tomorrow.
Yeah, here we are doing this, and you guys are buried in your budget as we speak. Yeah. Okay, so assuming everybody's back, I was wondering, would it work, and this is for Sarah, if we read through just the list of learning objectives that I failed to find and get out to everybody? So I apologize for that. If it would work to just read those by item list, Sarah, and then see if we, through what we've discussed this morning, have any particular objectives that we believe need to be added through this discussion. Would that work, Sarah, do you believe?
I do think that would be good. I'm wondering if Jason, now that he's back, might be able to just forward that email I had just sent to everybody on the committee. I'm not sure if I have everyone's emails, but that way you all could open it. It's just a Word document. And then I could share it too.
Yep, I sent it at 12:40 today, 12:39.
Amazing.
So everybody should have it.
Okay, great.
So
Yeah.
to be a dummy, how do I open that and not bust out of Zoom here?
And not what, Ed?
And not lose myself in
I know, it's like this split screen quandary, which is so hard. Yeah, but we could read through them however you would like to do it, but at least folks will be able to open it on their computers too if they'd like.
So let's see. Okay.
I could also share it if that's easier, like on my screen.
That might be better. At least
Okay, I'll try to do that here.
challenged as I am.
Sure. Let's see. Actually, oh, here we go. Sorry, I apologize. Give me just 1 second here.
That's okay. So as Sarah's getting that pulled up, so again, through what we've all discussed this morning, when we look at the learning objectives, if there's specific items, everybody had sent a list of 3 or 4. See what we need to note to be added to that list of learning objectives.
Oh. Sorry, it's opening on SharePoint here, and I just need to open it in Word. So just a second. There we go.
And just as a sidebar, we have a public comment time that's going to come up around 1 p.m. And I don't know what that looks like.
I'll facilitate through that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Can you all see the table here? Okay, great. So we noted when the category aligned with IHEA standards, you'll kind of see it in the subtopics column. And we kind of created a broad category on the left, pulled out what subtopic was associated with that. The learning objectives, as Francis, who used to be a middle school educator before he joined us, pointed out, are defined sort of as like, what do you want the participants or the students to know after they've taken this course? And then the specific content is sort of the topical stuff that we've touched on in the videos and questions. And I think we've heard from you all through your great input what you would like to see more detail regarding, but this might be a good way to see if there's anything that's missing, or you really want to bulk up. Like I heard, fair chase, it would be good to talk about that more, zones of fire. So I guess this just gives us an overall view that might be helpful of what's in the course at this point.
Dale?
Sarah, a question for you. Earlier, you or whoever was on earlier talked about, like, this is the first iteration of this class. Can you give us a little bit of sense or a little more sense of how you see this evolving? And the reason I ask that is that we've thrown out a lot of ideas in terms of things that we'd like to see this course do to be improved. But at the same time, at least for me, if I had a better sense of what the long-term or short-term, and short-term, let's just say less than 5 years, and long-term more than 5 years, how this is going to evolve, it might help us, it wouldn't me, in terms of making recommendations like, oh, this really needs to be on the initial iteration, or you know what, we're going to come out with version 2.0 in 13 months from now. Hopefully that makes sense, what I've asked of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't know if Greg wants to address that, but to me, I think that, I think it's not necessarily defined, and I think there are lots of directions we could go. Greg mentioned the ability that we have, especially with Lauren's talent, to really update videos, create new videos. There's the Calcumi option that somebody had brought up from Arizona. Francis has looked into that a bit. Yeah, I don't know, Greg, if you want to get into that, but it seems like there's different options that we could look at. So I don't know if we have a great vision of that at this point.
No, well, it's a good question. And Dale, very broadly, I want to be implementing tools that help move the needle on this hunter landowner relationship, and that improve that. I don't, I'll just use myself as an example. You can talk to people, and our former director, Hank Warsek, had some examples of, stories of when he took hunter's ed and things he remembered from hunter's ed. I don't remember anything about hunter's ed, and you know, what I remember about learning how to hunt was from my family, my dad and my grandpa, and some of those ethics that I learned from them have really served me well, and some of those I've kind of had to unlearn. And so I do think, you know, there is kind of this challenge of trying to figure out how do we have tools in place that can sort of help hunters reset, help hunters sort of speak a common language about taking care of the land, taking care of, you know, the activity of hunting, the future of hunting, taking care of that relationship with landowners. I see this tool as just as one of those tools. You know, I think our efforts on the marketing side and outreach side are important. I think our efforts on the hunter ed side are important. I think having a continuing to explore and have a conversation about advanced hunter ed in Montana, I think that's important. I think looking at different tools that we can put into place for our access programs, I think that's important. And so I see this as part of that mix. Specifically as the program, we we're we look at this like we do a lot of our other stuff, which is it needs to serve a purpose, and if it's not serving that purpose, we need to make some changes so it does serve the purpose. So um we're we're open to, you know, making updates and making changes, you know, on the go as we need to make this program more effective. Does that, I know it's a long-winded answer, did that get to it?
It does. Thank you.
And Dale, I think for everybody's benefit, I'm going to read what we had set, excuse me, sent to Senator Logie to begin with back, I believe it was August or so, about the request for this bill. So I'm just going to read it, so that'll give you that fresh mind on it. So there's current statute, and this takes from that. But it says the department shall issue 1 bonus point for any one species of person's choice in the Montana FWP permit drawings upon successful completion of the Hunter Landowner Stewardship Project's video course and online test. This bonus point shall be a one-time bonus point for any one current bonus point species chosen by the person successfully completing the course and test. If in the future Montana FWP updates the existing program or creates a new similar program, the department may issue an additional one-time bonus point for one species whenever that person completes a new or updated HLOSP program. So that's where that kind of beginning language was that we sent to begin this process. So Sarah, on your slide on the presentation right now, the point of emphasis is the dark left, right? And everything else follows under that. Personal responsibility behavior.
Yeah, the point of emphasis was like us sort of organizing the video and what we wanted the video to achieve. And then within the video, like the first video, sort of the intro video is this content, I believe. And I don't know if it aligns exactly as I'm scrolling here. I don't know that they align with like videos 1, 2, 3, and 4 actually, but it was like the highlight of the content. Like what did we want to distill all this content into? So each video ended up having sort of different themes. So that's just the point of emphasis video is like what we wanted to integrate into the video content.
So could you just go down and clarify those points, just one point at a time, not the detail?
The video points. Or
yeah, the learning objective.
Oh, the learning objectives. Okay. So if everyone can see this, we want students to be able to describe how responsible hunters show respect for natural resources, other hunters, landowners, non-hunters, and themselves, and really develop a personal code of conduct that guides their decisions related to ethics. That's the first two. Do you want me to continue reading like the fair chase and the others in that column, or do folks just want to read them?
I think we're good.
I may have missed that, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead and go down through it.
Okay, so then with the fair chase content, the learning objective here is really describe the concept of fair chase and how to apply it. And then another learning objective is explain why developing responsible hunting behavior is important for every hunter and the future of hunting. And the last bit in this section is describe how to find and interpret hunting regulations and report hunting violations.
Okay.
The next bit of information, learning objectives related to access and private property and access programs. Explain the basic rights of private property owners and identify trespassing behavior while hunting. Explain the importance of securing permission to hunt on private lands and abiding by the landowner's guidelines. Identify key communication topics to address with landowners before and after your hunt. And then identify common FWP access programs, FWP and partner access planning tools and how to use them. Describe considerations when retrieving game from private lands. Explain the value of farming and ranching to society, the economy, and wildlife habitat. The next bit is on safety. Identify the 4 basic rules of firearm safety. Identify safe zones of fire on public and private lands. The next is really kind of what we see in video 4, identify impacts of wildland fire to private lands, how to look up fire danger status for your area and ways to minimize fire risk while hunting, identify and avoid the most common species of invasive weeds, describe how to properly dispose of trash and human waste, describe how to properly manage dogs while hunting, describe ways to minimize vehicle impacts while hunting on private lands. There you go. Sorry for the scrolling. I know some people hate that there. Okay.
So with that, some input from you members. What strikes you as missing or not emphasized enough? So how about, let's go back and start at the top. Craig? Is that a broad sweep, Craig?
You call on me, Ed?
Yeah, I was wondering, so the question is, after looking at these objectives for the learning section, what do you see missing? All of what you already stated?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to kind of figure out in my own mind how to approach this, and I think maybe in my written comments I can add more about it, Ed, but just real quick, I think there are a few things missing. I think what hits me though is maybe some more detail when you go over to the specific comments. For example, I look at the weeds and being able to identify some common noxious weeds. Well, maybe that should be a part of the test, right? Like I'm just throwing things out there. And I need to back up and say, I really appreciate seeing this outline. It's great to see this and how much work that the agency's already put into this. I applaud it. And I don't want to be disrespectful of it, but I think those kind of things, fair chase is another one. I know and I don't want to get in the weeds, but when we talk about fair chase, and there's a definition in there about, well, those with more skill may be more restrictive in their use of weaponry, and I think that's not always the case. I think when we have some of the technology we have, that there's a feeling of trying to stretch the ranges of both archery and rifle. And so that's a pretty, I'll just say in a lot of the classes I've been a part of, when we talk about these kind of more technology kinds of things, it's a really pretty serious debate on whether it actually increases lethality or actually increases wounding incidences. So there's no answer to that, I think. But that conversation, I think, is worth having in this when we talk about, fair chase, if that's possible. So I'll shut up, but those are kind of some of the things that pop out to me right away.
Thank you, Craig, for that. I see Jason has his hand up.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was just, if you're wanting to try and open public comment now, or if you want to wait till this discussion's over, but I don't know.
I think this could take a little while.
We have only one person attending the meeting, but I'm not sure who they are. So if you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Again, if you'd like to make public comment, this is the time for that. Please raise your hand. Looks like nobody, Mr. Chair, so back to you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cool. Everett?
Yeah, I just had the thought, we've all submitted written comments on what we would like to see, and I think the vast majority overlapped on each other. So I would just suggest that the department kind of take those and synthesize them into this document, and then kind of reevaluate where we don't have those elements. I just, I don't know. It kind of seems to me like we've kind of done a little bit of this exercise. Maybe it's helpful for the department to ask specific questions, but I don't know. That was my thought here.
Thanks, Everett. So does anybody have any additional input at this point on looking at these learning objectives and what we've already commented on that you'd like to express right now? Everett's still up. I don't see any hands. Ms. Cohan?
Yeah, it says respect landowners and property, which leads you to believe it's all private property. There might be a bullet there about all land or something like that.
So I guess I'm going to concur with Everett. Looking at the details of this document for working out the educational objectives, I think submitting two things. One, any of your, I guess, comments of critique that you saw that you'd like to make note of, any that you want to officially make note of. And then second is what's missing from our discussion. I made notes from each of you today, and we'll forward those on. And I think where there are those common points, my question then would come to Mr. Lemon as far as the timing that we had talked about. You weren't privy to the whole conversation, but if we have, say, three or four additional topics that we'd like to be considered to be added as video segments, do you still feel that would be accomplished within that October through January timeframe for next year's application period?
Yeah, I think that'd definitely be feasible for sure. I think it's feasible to to update the program for next fall. I think the challenge is the timing on the legislation for it to pass. And it would, the bonus point piece would go into effect. You know, I don't know, Ed, as you and I have spoke, I don't know there's any reason for that to go into effect until first of next year, given some updates that we're gonna, be looking to make.
So to clarify, again, assuming we put forward X number of points to be added to the topics, and you folks produce those, the timing then would be sometime around the end of this year's 2025 end of hunting seasons. Those would be accessible to the public to get online, take that video course, and then be able to be awarded a bonus point, assuming the legislation passes, to apply for the 26 year, correct?
Right. I think we're ahead of where we were last year on this, and I think we're also, maybe in a little better shape to tackle it, a little better organized than we were last year. So I actually think what I'd like to do is get it coordinated and get it done. And because we've got I got a whole slew of other things I got Lauren and working on for sure. And I know fall gets really busy for Hunter Ed, for Francis. And so my preference would be to have it ready by the end of the summer to launch for the fall hunting season. Just for context, this year I just checked with Missy, our webmaster, who she's got the view into the test, this year's test. We've had 400 people go through that so far this year. And so, Jason might know, but if memory serves, that's quite a jump in what we typically get for the Hunter Landowner Stewardship Program. So, my sense is just raffling off a pair of binoculars and the promotion that we've done has increased participation already, and we could work on something like that again for next year as well.
So you're confident then that, let's say there were 4 more video modules to this, that they could be produced and ready by the end of August of this year?
Well, I mean, don't this, let me truth it up with Sarah and Francis. I see Francis got a smirk on his face. And Lauren, I mean, to me, that seems feasible given what we've already accomplished with this in the organization we've kind of got in place. But Sarah, do you see does that timeline bother you?
No, I feel like it rests a lot on Lauren, and I feel like we could propose and run by the committee ideas just from today's conversation for videos, and be ready to integrate what's missing into the course content table and also write video scripts and move forward. So, yeah.
Lauren, is that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there were some really great ideas that came out of this, and just kind of communicating with some ideas and a person who's willing to already signed up. So thanks, Trenton. You're signed up.
Okay, Francis, does that timeline worry you?
No,
Okay.
that seems very achievable.
There you go, Ed. We're good.
All right, so then that goes back to the council. So, as I understand it, if there's no real risk I see in bringing this forward, sitting down with Senator Logie, and then obviously somebody from ComEd will be needing to be available to make that informational question answered. So I guess at this point, I would bring it back to the committee and ask for a consensus on going forward. And I guess before we do that, does anybody have any reservation at this point or any objection to doing that? And I'll probably go around and ask each one. So, Ms. Cohan, are you good with moving forward?
I am. We worked on it a long time, and I mean, how do we lose?
Thank you. Mr. Tribby?
Yes, I am. And I do think we need to be cognizant of the fact that as the changes are made by the end of the summer, early fall, we're going to look at it and say, gosh, I wish they'd have done a little bit more in this area or another one. But that's when you have this many people looking at it from all these different lenses, that's going to happen. But I am confident from what I've heard from the department and from the members of this council, we should move forward on this.
Thank you, Mr. Tribby. Okay, Mr. Jordan is the new eyes.
I agree. I think, and again, I feel almost a little unqualified to vote, but I would say with what we've heard and the commitment from the agency and all the great comments from the committee members, I feel good, Ed. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig. Mr. Headley?
No, I would say send it forward.
Okay. Mr. Steinberger?
I would agree with everyone else. I think having a productive way to dangle the carrots is much better than the alternative. So please push it forward.
All righty. Ms. McDonald?
Thank you. I agree. We should have some more work put into it and move it forward as a professionalism that we've all been assigned to this committee from the governor is when we put our stamp of approval on it, we really want a great program because all our reputations are also on the line. So I think with the additional work and everybody's input, I think we're on the road to getting that done.
Thank you, Donna. Mr. Roth?
Yes, I agree with everyone else. I am encouraged actually by the discussion today that we kind of got on track or maybe dialed it down a little bit more on what we're really looking for and some of the key things that we add to this that really will make it not only valuable for the hunters but for the landowners. And I think so far the video quality and all that, I mean, is really spot on. I mean, I think we have all the tools to make that continue to be good. I think it's just really dialing down, to make it meaningful for the hunters that are, filling this out and doing this, but also for the landowners that hope to see something positive on the other side. I think, and I agree with Don. I mean, our name is on the line kind of at this. So I think moving forward, but being active in this and getting a good product put out is the most important. So I agree to keep moving on.
Thanks, Rich. Mr. Steinberger?
Yep, same as what I said a minute ago, Ed. I'm good to go.
Oh, sorry. I think it's going back through
That's okay.
alphabetically again. How about Miss Prater?
Oh, you didn't forget me this time?
I'm working on it.
No, I think move it forward. I think we've done a great start on it, and it'll just get better. So move it forward.
All right, thank you all. Okay, so back to question for Mr. Lemon and Ms. Malloy probably. So is there a time, I know we'll have a meeting probably in May. We will have a meeting in May sometime. Is that a progress point for us to take a quick peek at where you're at? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, so I think we're happy to provide an update. I'm not sure where we'll be at. One of the challenges with this sort of filming is you want to have it look realistic. You know, when our hunter Francis is out in the field, we want him to be look like he's, you know, really out there hunting. So, you know, we might not be filming by then, but we can definitely give you an update on where we're at with content scripts, you know, key points that we're going to be covering, all of that. So, another thing, and this is just an FYI, I had a meeting yesterday with DNRC, and there's interest with them to do what Rich had talked about a little bit ago on this call, which was to really get some more information out about the difference between federal lands and DNRC land. So we talked about about this program as well as a good tool for a vehicle for that. So that'll be something that amongst the other things that we'll include, we'll definitely be looking to provide more information on what makes DNRC lands unique. So just FYI.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if May isn't, if the update is appropriate at that time, we'd include you on that agenda to do that. And maybe Francis should try hunting tomorrow. We don't have any heavy winter scenery on there where he's wearing woolies or traditional hunting clothing. He's all out in that fancy Sitka gear and all that stuff. You know, that might be, and it's nippy, so you get rosy cheeks. Okay. So I'm trying to think what else we need to wrap up on that. Anybody else have any last comments on the program, on the landowner stewardship program? There goes my brain. Okay. Jason, anything else on your end?
Just if you wanted to do member reports and then look at meeting dates for May, but that was it for the course.
Okay. So yeah, let's look. I don't know if we want to look at a specific date in May yet. We will need to do a meeting in front of the PALA agreements in May. So I think I would just ask Jason to send out a couple dates and we can do a poll on that. But we will need to meet on that in May. And that's probably good timing with the wrap up of the legislature in April also for us. Does that work okay, fine, Jason?
Yeah, I see Mr. Tribby's got his hand up, but other than that, yeah, I'd be happy to send out a poll of some kind.
Okay. Go ahead, Dale.
Mr. Chairman, provided or when this goes to Senator Logie and it gets introduced, would it be helpful? I'm guessing you will probably testify in support of it. Would you like some additional people to testify in support of it, because I'm certainly willing to do that if you would like multiple people to be a part of that. You can just respond as it works. Thanks.
Yeah, to Dale's question, absolutely, it's very helpful. You know, if you haven't done that testimony, and you can do it on Zoom or in person is really great. For those of you that might be in Helena, Rich, but it's helpful, and it's also great if you haven't done it to not repeat what's been said. Obviously, those committee people are very busy and they want that feedback, but they want to hear unique support each time if you can give it. So that would be great when we get to that point. So I will let everybody know. Okay. Excuse me. So does anybody have any other PLPW business, or should we let's just include that? If you have any other PLPW business, please include it in your member home report. We'll go ahead and start with that now. So I'm going to start with the person I forgot. Stephanie. Ms. Prater.
Oh man, this is embarrassing. After all of that, I actually missed what you were asking. I had somebody walk into my office.
I was asking about your success this hunting and fishing season. No,
Yeah.
I was not. I was not. No, just a moment for member reports, and if you had any other PLPW topics you'd like to bring forward.
Nope. Region 4's doing pretty good here. It's like an Arctic blast. We have multiple feet of snow here in Lewistown. I feel like when we're in town, all we've been doing is shoveling. Hopefully some of the critters find some shelter and something to eat, because it's pretty deep. I know while we were on vacation, our friends had a mountain lion break into their chicken coop. So I mean, it's definitely, things are getting hungry. Our cat quota was increased pretty dramatically for the males in region 411, 412, and it's still closed fairly quickly. So that was kind of surprising. I was surprised how fast even the female quota closed. So that was very successful, having that quota increase. Other than that, we're just trying to stay warm and hunkering down, and hopefully all of this moisture will bring some good come the spring.
Thank you, ma'am. How about Mr. Roth?
Yeah, so it was a good overall hunting season. I think the same little nuances that kind of come with it, that always do. Actually, everyone was good this year with fires. We had a really good year for grass growth, which was nice, but we did have some tall grasses, so fires, but I'd actually worked with DNRC and put some signs up in some spots where we'd had trouble in the past. So that helped alleviate that problem. Was a good overall year, a good bird population. The mule deer population in our area still continues to kind of be a problem for people. But I think some of the restrictions that were put in place may or may not have helped that. We won't probably know until this year. Again, for the most part, not a lot of issues as far as trespass or things like that. Lots and lots of traffic. Again, I think this has been probably a common occurrence for at least the past 5 years, just more and more people coming to Region 6 as they get kind of pushed out of other areas, and try to find game and experiences where they're not, stepping over people and things like that. Certainly been something that we've seen here, but I didn't have any major things. Everyone was relatively good to be out with, enjoyed being out, enjoyed, the spaces and good experiences of just being able to be out and about. So, like I said, I didn't, I said, other than the things that I've mentioned before, as far as little things that kind of irritate landowners, that's how it went here, so.
Thank you, Rich. About Donna, Ms. McDonald.
Thank you. Gosh, it's hard to dig in my brain that far back now. But in general, we had a good season, good hunting, very good hunting season. One thing that is starting to concern us in our area is we're starting to get more animals testing positive for CWD. And I think that might be something that our council might need to look at some point, since a lot of it is happening on private ranches. And so that's always a concern. But other than that, the populations were good for the most part. Hunters behaved, and everyone was healthy at the end of the day. So that's what it's all about.
All right, thank you, Donna. How about it, Everett?
Nothing earth shattering over here in Region 2. We've got 125% snowpack I checked this morning, so I think we're okay for a little while. But it's all eyes on the legislative session right now and what's coming out of there, and waiting on some updates, to see what's new from there. But honestly, I don't have much more to add other than what we've been dealing with today, Ed.
Thank you, Everett. Mr. Steinberger.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, to echo real quick what Everett just said about all eyes on the session. There's definitely a lot of chatter about what could be or would be, but we'll see how everything shakes out here soon. It's also that time of year where I run into people from my area as I travel to all these different places. I know, again, Everett travels to a bunch of these trade shows, hunting trade shows across the country. So Atlanta, Nashville, Reno, Salt Lake, we kind of go all over. And again, it's a great opportunity to have a bunch of fresh voices and fresh eyes and fresh conversations around how good we have it. And everybody, when they find out, our involvement in some of these things, the plea to try and keep it good. So it's always a nice reminder when I'm on the road, to hear how good Montana is, and to hear people begging for us to continue to improve it and keep our thumb on the pulse as we put forth proposals and ideas.
Thank you, Drew. Ms. Cohan.
We've got the sportsman's group, of course, has their eye on the legislature, and they're kind of focused on a mule deer action at the moment. The hunting in the area was kind of low because there wasn't any real snow. I saw where the CW submissions for elk especially, but deer too, were up over normal CW submissions. The hunters were submitting them, so that was a good thing, and we're seeing more and more of that. There's some concern in the area about how conservation easements are being blocked, I guess would be the best term of that. So that's what's happening in our area.
Thank you, Cindy. Mr. Tribby.
Been pretty quiet. We too have winter around here. It's been cold, and we're getting snow now, and supposed to get a little bit more, but overall it hasn't been a bad winter. It doesn't seem yet. I think one of the concerns, not really so much from sportsmen, just from people in general, is bird flu and how that might affect populations. A reminder, lock management appreciation dinners are coming up here real soon. I got an invite from Region 7, and I'm gonna go to at least one of our meetings, and And I'll talk to our access coordinator and maybe make a few comments when I go to our bank or our dinner, which is the end of this month. The legislature's been a little bit quiet so far. I mean, there's been plenty of bills, but doesn't seem things that are just really rocking the sportsman's world. Yesterday, I did listen to, I can't remember if it was the House or the Senate, but for some of us that have been on PLPW for several years, there's been bills in the past that change the number of acres or the requirements for landowners to get special elk permits. And there was a bill introduced by Senator Bogner, who is actually from Miles City. And basically what it would do, it used to be if a landowner would qualify for some special permits if they owned 640 acres or had a contract on 640 acres. And his bill would remove that requirement or remove the part that said if you have under contract. And as I heard the bill, the justification for it was there were people, in order to just qualify for one of those permits, they would reach an agreement that said that they were under contract for this piece of land only to have an opportunity, a better opportunity to get one of those permits. And I may not be saying that exactly right. I did listen to the hearing yesterday. But again, that was something that we had talked about at a PLPW meeting a few years ago. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Mr. Jordan.
I think one of the things that was interesting this fall actually is a private, I'm not the landowner, but the ranch I work on actually had a case of corner crossing that was egregious enough that the warden cited the person. I know that's been a source of a lot of conversation. Just want to let you know that at least when they're really wrong, that the state is stepping forward and citing folks for that. So that was interesting. We didn't know how that would go. The hunting season was great. As a person trying to manage elk on private land, we struggle with elk distribution. We'd love to have an elk herd that's 100 elk less than we do now, and we're having a hard time achieving a harvest that's going to facilitate that. So like everybody else in the West, we struggle with that. Otherwise, I think that's kind of it, Ed, for now.
Thank you, Craig. Over here in Helena, we finally got some snow and cold, and I noticed the other day we sold all our ice shacks, so I'm really happy that the lakes are freezing and people are out enjoying some perch fishing. Yeah, that kind of gets us cranking here for a little bit, as we're not in too many hunting seasons. I think generally around us, the hunting harvest was kind of a little below average. There wasn't a lot of winter, and all the elk that didn't appear to be there came like a week later when there was some good snow, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of elk coming out of the timber down low. Pretty normal. We don't have any particular things going on that are troublesome at the moment that I'm aware of, either on the hunter or landowner side. I will note, we have some noted poor shooting behavior, which isn't necessarily hunters, but it could be, that I think in our area needs to be addressed as to people, how they handle their shooting, whether it's on public ground, but in this case, public ground that looks like it's private, and how it impacts those working lands folks. So just something I've become aware of recently to work on. So that's about it from Helena for me. done a couple things in the legislature, nothing specific to PLPW, and I haven't seen anything real problematic yet. So I would like to re-mention our thanks as a council to the access managers and the ComEd folks for the great work they do. That's my golden retriever who's sick at home here with me. He's on prednisone, so when he barks, I gotta let him out the door. He'll pee on the floor. It's a real bummer that got a puppy who's sick. But again, great thanks to you folks. I appreciate so many of the access managers being on with us through this, and you know, listening and helping us as we try to help you. So, and last, to the folks that have worked on this video program with the Hunter Landowner Stewardship Program, it definitely brings up this point of we all saw this, I believe, last August, and we were all like, wow, that's good. We like it. It's a great step forward from the older program. And so as we've picked this apart, I just want to say thank you for indulging us on our work, trying to help you make this the best it can be with the resources that we all have. And we know you're doing that and working towards that effort. So we appreciate it now that we've had time to all look at it 3-4 times and be a little more critical of what you've done. So we appreciate your patience and understanding with us, because we know you're trying to do a great job. So I'll leave it with that. I don't know, Jason or Sarah or Greg, if you had any final comment.
Greg and Sarah both had to jump off, but I'm still here with you guys, and I just wanted to again say thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay warm. Francis, I don't know if you have anything else. I saw you chimed in there. And then it looks like Dale's got his hand raised, Mr. Chair. But with that, just again, thank you all for your time and appreciate willingness to jump into a short notice meeting.
Okay. Dale?
Is there a chance we could come up with tentative dates for our May meeting? I just need to plan all my turkey hunting friends that want to come out here, and I want to make sure that I don't double book those days. Thanks.
Okay, we'll get that. Jason will get that out real quick. Excuse me. And look at their calendar. Apologize for that cough. That work okay, Dale?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. And then Francis, did you want to have a final?
He gave us a thumbs up, so I think he's good too.
Oh, he's good.
Yep.
Okay, listen, I appreciate everybody. As Jason said, it's pretty quick notice. Really appreciate your thoughts and efforts in this, and we'll get her done and go from there. So everybody take care, stay warm, and appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks all.
Thank you,
Take care.
Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, everybody. Have a good spring.